morning to you, 17 minutes to 9. Let's dive into the news and take a look around some different stories. And shall I begin with this one? Scientists have identified the world's oldest asteroid crater in Australia. Adding it may explain how the planet was lifted from an ice age. Now, the asteroid hit Yarrabubba in Western Australia. I said that in a bit of a Manx way. Which Yarrabubba, fella. It's better than my Australian accent anyway. This was about 2.2 billion years ago, this hit, making the crater about half the age of Earth. According to researchers, their conclusion was reached by testing minerals found in rocks at the site. And they say the find is exciting because it could account for a warming event during that era. And interestingly, this crater in the dry out back in 1979. But it's only now they've sort of done the tests and found out that actually, I love it when they make these scientific discoveries.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, no, and there's so many as well that you probably aren't aware of, but obviously that's a pretty significant one.
And this one as well, it's at least 200 million years older than the next most ancient impact structure, which is in South Africa. I mean, 200 million years. How do they work this out?
It's hard to comprehend that. It's like, have you ever read A Short History of Nearly Everything?
I haven't.
It's within the first sort of chapter, your just mind is boggled by the sheer scale of the universe, and I think that's what it's so well explained. It's just that the scale is so. I think it's beyond our comprehension, or certainly beyond mine.
I think that's why with stuff like this, it can take so long to actually figure out what it is and how long it's been there, just because it's just. Yeah. Unmeasurable.
When you're talking 200 million years, it's a bit different to counting rings in a tree trunk, isn't it? I think it's slightly more convoluted than that.
It makes you feel that maybe Brexit isn't that big of a deal.
There you go. Exactly. It's small fry compared to this asteroid in Yarrabubba in Western Australia.
Yarrabubba?
That's it.
Oh,
that was not bad. No. What have you got for us then?
Mine is something that probably people have suspected anyway, but apparently a study has actually proved it now, that stress does cause you to go grey.
Right.
So cells that control hair colour become permanently damaged by fight or flight, a hormone. This is what scientists have found, and it will never go back. So if you're particularly stressed and you're seeing some pops of grey, chill yourself out right now, because it's not going to change apparently. So yeah, it's chemicals produced by the nervous system travel to the hair follicles. The stem cells which colour hair soak up the chemicals and are damaged, and they can no longer pigment the hair as it grows, and the effect, as I say, is permanent. There are some, I think, apparently it says somewhere, which I'm struggling to find, that there are ways to prevent it, which is obviously what the information I need to know, because I'm terribly scared now. But people typically start to go grey in their 30s and have half a head of hair or grey hair by the time they're 50.
It's just something else to be stressed about, though, isn't it?
No, I'm stressed about
being stressed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. I mean, it's been I always thought a bit of an old wives' tale, but actually it's proving there is some scientific sort of logic behind it.
Absolutely. I mean, premature greying, some people go grey very, very early, even as early as teenage years, and that is caused largely, we're told, by genetics. But stress is a cause too. So it's not only stress, but that it can be a factor. This is what the study has found. So there you go.
I've got some grey at the sides, and it seems to go in flurries. I think, it's starting to go more grey, and then it seems to sort of stop again. And
I wonder if the sun does anything to it. I'm not sure it would be strong enough on the Isle of Man, but perhaps if you're on holiday.
Well, there you go. So would you ever consider dyeing your hair if you started to go a bit grey?
Of course.
I dye my hair anyway, so I probably wouldn't make much of a difference.
I haven't dyed my hair, but if I start... I think it's very rare to find a woman around 40 odd that hasn't dyed their hair if they started to go grey. I'd be interested to know. Lots of people own it and just go with it naturally, but it's not that common. I'd say the majority are the other way, actually.
Easier for men, do you think, to sort of own the grey thing?
Well, it's the whole silver fox thing. I mean, unless you're Helen Mirren, you just don't really get away with it as a woman, do you?
There you go. So something there to think about. And Sian, finally, this is an interesting one you've got.
Yes, so this is a story about the slug population of Britain. The Royal Horticultural Society want to do a survey of the slug population to find out how it's changed over the years. This hasn't been done for several decades. So they are seeking citizen scientists. So these are just ordinary people who they want to recruit to identify the different types of slugs. And once a month, these citizen scientists, as they're calling them, will spend half an hour in their back garden with a torch, seeing what they can find.
I love that.
Excellent.
So if you fancy that, you can apply via the Royal Horticultural Society.
Well, there you go. There's a post, isn't
If
it?
it's something you're interested in, what a great opportunity.
I mean, they're a nuisance for many people in the gardens, but this could be just the thing if you are a fan of slugs.
If you're a fan of slugs. Have you seen the film Flushed Away?
Haven't, no.
I do not know that one.
Oh, never mind then. there's just some very funny animated slugs.
Okay, flushed away then. We'll make a note of that. And yes, are you a fan of slugs? That's a question I don't think we've ever asked here on Breakfast. So, yeah, if you are, we would love to hear from you this morning.